A lion cub, barely older than a few months, chased a butterfly across the sun-drenched grassland. The wind kissed its golden fur as it leapt and rolled, unaware of the silent world around it. The cub's tiny roars mixed with the rustling grass, creating a rhythm of innocence and play. Not far away, its pride lounged under the shade of a towering acacia tree, their eyes half-lidded, breathing deeply in the midday warmth. The male lion let out a low grumble, a signal to gather, but the cub did not respond. It had wandered farther than usual, caught in the spell of discovery. Each bounce took it deeper into the brush. Each step was one step away from safety. Yet beneath the sea of green, another creature stirred. A giant python, hidden for hours, tracked the cub with unblinking eyes. Its body, a tapestry of scales and strength, moved silently through the tall grass. It watched. It waited. The python's breath slowed as its muscles coiled tightly, its mind focused on one moment, the strike. The cub leapt once more, this time into the shadowed edge of the field. That was all the serpent needed. In a fraction of a second it lunged. The coils snapped around the cub's body, wrapping tighter with each breath. A sharp squeal rang through the air, high and shrill. Every bird took flight. The breeze seemed to halt. From the acacia grove, the male lion's head jerked up. His mate was already on her paws, muscles drawn like ropes. Both sprinted toward the sound, but when they arrived, they froze. The python's powerful grip threatened the cub's life. Its scales shimmered as the serpent adjusted its hold. The lions growled, paced, and roared, but dared not attack. One wrong swipe, one misjudged bite, and their own flesh and blood could be lost. The cub whimpered. The python tightened. Seconds felt like eternity. Then something shifted. A shadow appeared at the edge of the grove, towering, muscular, and unmistakably foreign to the plains. It was Bakery, a silverback gorilla, long thought to have disappeared into the western ridge after his troop was relocated. He had lived alone for years, distant from both man and beast, but now he stood at the border between life and death, watching. He had heard the scream. He had felt the call. Bakery stepped forward. His chest rose as he beat it with mighty fists. A thunderclap echoed across the valley. The lions turned, startled. The python ignored him. But Bakery did not stop. He sprinted. His fists pounded the earth with every step. His arms swung like pendulums of power. He reached the serpent in moments, his hands diving into the coils with strength only nature's fiercest creatures know. The python hissed, twisting. But Bakery held fast. He pulled. He grunted. Every muscle strained. Inch by inch, the python loosened. The cub dropped, wheezing but alive. The serpent struck. Its fangs found Bakery's shoulder. Blood trickled. He roared louder. The lions backed away. With one final effort, Bakery flung the python aside. The massive snake slithered into the bush, vanishing like smoke. The gorilla stood silently. The lions stared. Bakery looked at the cub, then at the parents. Without a sound, he turned and disappeared into the forest. No growl, no acknowledgement, only stillness. Far away, two rangers, Daniel and Tar, drove slowly along the sanctuary's edge. Their truck kicked up dust as it moved through the wild corridor. Tar leaned forward, binoculars scanning the horizon. Suddenly, static buzzed on the radio. A lion's roar, then silence. They stopped the truck. Another cry, different this time. Distress. They spun the vehicle off-road, heading toward the sound. Birds scattered overhead. A jackal paused mid-run. Something had disrupted the balance. As they crested the ridge, the scene unfolded like a dream. The lion cub lay on the ground, breathing shallowly. The adult lions circled protectively. A massive python trailed off into the undergrowth, and walking away, slowly, powerfully, was a silverback gorilla. "Is that a gorilla?" Daniel asked aloud. Tar could not speak. They watched as Bakery reached the edge of the forest. He turned his head, eyes locking with Daniel's for a moment, then vanished into the trees. Daniel rushed to the cub. He checked its chest. Breathing, barely. The lions did not resist. They watched with a quiet kind of reverence. Not one growled, not one moved aggressively. Tar snapped photos. Tracks, fur, scale marks, everything documented. Back at the station that night, their story spread fast, but few believed. A gorilla saving a lion cub? Impossible, until they showed the photos, the blood, the prints, the torn grass, the bruises on the cub's ribs, shaped like coils. That night, the sanctuary changed forever. Over the following days, the cub healed. Its strength returned, its spirit too, but the pride had changed. They stayed closer. They watched the cub more carefully. Never again did they allow it to wander far. And in the shadows of the forest, Bakery remained unseen, but not forgotten. Whispers grew among the rangers. Some had seen shapes in the trees, heard chest-beating echoes at dusk. Once, a jeep returning late found massive footprints near the ranger post. No sightings, no attacks, only signs. They began calling him the Guardian. Months passed. The story reached villages. Children gathered around fire pits to hear the legend. Artists painted murals of the gorilla holding back the serpent. Tourists began requesting guides to Guardian's Hollow, the spot where the rescue took place. Rangers added a small plaque under the acacia tree. It read, "Here, mercy defied instinct." More strange reports surfaced. Elephants forming circles at night. Hyenas howling in one direction for no reason. Monkeys bowing their heads near a certain grove. No one had answers, but all felt it, the presence. The cub grew strong. By the second rainy season, it was a full adolescent. Fast, alert, dominant, yet it often stared into the forest for long moments. It never went near the trees alone. One ranger observed that it would growl softly, not with threat, but with memory, as if speaking to something only it could feel. Then, one morning, fresh prints appeared again, large, wide-set, heavy. A camera trap triggered at night. The image showed movement, blurred but powerful, upright, arms long, shoulders wide. The photo was archived. Bakery had returned. Years later, the pride flourished. The once cub was now leader. It had its own cubs, and they too, like their parent, stayed close to home. The new generation played, tumbled, and wrestled, but never crossed into the tree line. The sanctuary staff reported that lions were acting strangely respectful around certain zones, as if marking territory, not theirs, but someone else's. A drone once caught a glimpse of a dark figure watching from a high cliff before ducking away. Still, the stories were not told publicly. They were shared in whispers, among rangers, among villagers, among those who believed. Then, during a severe drought, the rivers dried. Animals migrated, tensions rose, fights broke out between species over water. One night, 2 jackals trapped a leopard cub against a ravine wall. The screams pierced the night. The mother was too far to intervene, and suddenly, silence. By the time rangers arrived, the cub was safe. One jackal lay unconscious. The other had vanished. Fresh tracks, huge ones, trailed off into the gorge. From then on, no one doubted. Bakery had become more than a gorilla. He was myth. He was legend. He was the soul of the sanctuary. An invisible hand guarding the balance of the wild, every rustle in the leaves, every unexplained roar, every sudden peace after a struggle. It all pointed back to him, to the day he stood between predator and prey, not as one or the other, but as something higher, as a guardian, as a choice. And so even now, if you ever visit those grasslands, and you feel the wind change direction or hear the leaves whisper a little louder, pause. because you might be standing in the footsteps of a creature who changed the rules of the wild. A lion cub lived that day, not because nature demanded it, but because one silent giant decided it should. If stories like this remind you of the power still hiding in this world, the kind that defies instinct, breaks expectation, and offers mercy where none is owed, then stay with us. Like, share, subscribe. Because in the wild, the greatest stories are not written, they are lived. And somewhere beneath the acacias, a silverback still watches.